Elvis Presley pulled his midnight blue 1973 Stutz Blackhawk into the empty Shell station on Highway 51 just outside Memphis at 2:47 a.m. on November 12, 1976, his hands shaking so badly he could barely grip the steering wheel, his vision blurred from a cocktail of prescription medications he'd taken 3 hours earlier that should have knocked him unconscious, but instead had left him in a twilight state where he was too wired to sleep and too impaired to think clearly, and the only thing his drugged brain could focus on was a desperate need to keep moving, to drive somewhere, anywhere, away from Graceland and the Memphis Mafia and the constant crushing weight of being Elvis Presley. But what he didn't know was that Danny Mitchell, the 19-year-old night shift attendant who was earning $2 an hour and studying for his community college finals in the station office, was about to witness the king of rock and roll having a complete psychological breakdown at pump number 3, and the decision Danny would make in the next 8 minutes would either save Elvis's life or become the worst mistake either of them ever made. But the most shocking thing was, Danny had no idea who Elvis was at first, and that anonymity would become the most important gift anyone had given Elvis in years. The evening had spiraled out of control around 11 p.m. Elvis had been in his bedroom at Graceland, trying to sleep, but his mind was racing with anxiety about upcoming tour dates, financial pressures, health concerns that his doctors kept minimizing, but Elvis knew were serious. He'd taken his usual sleep medication, Placidil, 2 pills, but sleep wouldn't come, so he'd taken 2 more. Then, when that didn't work, he'd added Demerol for the physical pain that never went away, and Dexedrine because the sedatives were making him feel foggy and he needed to clear his head. The combination was dangerous. Elvis knew it was dangerous, but in that moment, alone in his bedroom with his thoughts spiraling into darker and darker territory, the danger seemed preferable to the alternative of lying awake all night thinking about how his life had become a prison of his own making. Wait, don't miss this detail. Around 2:30 a.m., Elvis made a decision that would terrify everyone who worked for him. He got out of bed, put on sweatpants and a jacket, grabbed his car keys, and walked out of Graceland without telling anyone where he was going. The security detail was posted at the front gate, assuming Elvis was asleep for the night. They didn't see him slip out through a side entrance that led to one of the back garages. Elvis got into his Stutz Blackhawk, one of the most distinctive cars in Memphis, custom-made, impossible to miss, and drove away from Graceland with no destination in mind, just a desperate need to escape, to be alone, to exist somewhere outside the constant surveillance and management and expectations. The medications in his system made driving dangerous. His reaction time was impaired. His judgment was compromised. But Elvis was operating on autopilot, muscle memory guiding him through streets he'd driven for decades, barely conscious of what he was doing or where he was going. He ended up on Highway 51, heading north, away from Memphis. At some point, the fuel gauge registered empty, and that's when Elvis pulled into the Shell station, the only business open for miles at that hour. Here's where everything changed. Danny Mitchell looked up from his textbook and saw the most unusual car he'd ever witnessed pull up to pump 3. Danny was 19, working night shift at the gas station to pay for community college courses. He wanted to be an engineer someday, build bridges, create things that lasted. But for now, he pumped gas and sold cigarettes and studied during the quiet hours between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. The Stutz Blackhawk was unlike anything Danny had ever seen. Custom bodywork, unique design, clearly expensive. But when the driver's door opened and the man stumbled out, Danny's first thought wasn't about recognizing a celebrity. It was concern that this person was in no condition to be driving. The man, wearing sweatpants, a wrinkled jacket, and sunglasses despite it being the middle of the night, swayed slightly as he walked toward the pump. He tried to lift the gas nozzle, but dropped it twice before managing to get it into the tank. Danny watched through the office window, debating what to do. This was clearly someone who was either drunk or high or both. Technically, Danny should probably call the police, but something stopped him. The man's body language wasn't aggressive or dangerous. It was defeated, lost. You won't believe what happened next. Elvis couldn't remember how to work the gas pump. Danny saw the man staring at the pump controls like they were written in a foreign language, pressing buttons randomly, getting increasingly frustrated. Finally, the man's shoulders slumped and he just stood there, one hand on the car for support, completely still. Danny made a decision. He left the office and walked over to pump 3. "Hey man, you need some help?" Danny called out, keeping his distance in case this person was unpredictable. The man turned, and Danny got his first clear look at his face. Even with the sunglasses, even with the puffiness that suggested weight gain or medication or both, there was something familiar about him. But Danny couldn't place it. "I can't," the man's voice was slurred, barely coherent. "I can't remember how this works." "The pump?" "Everything. I can't remember how any of it works anymore." Danny realized this person wasn't just impaired, he was in crisis. "Okay, let's start simple. You need gas?" The man nodded. "I'll pump it for you. You just need to prepay inside, or I can run your credit card out here." I don't have..." The man patted his pockets, seemed confused. "I left my wallet. I left everything." "All right, that's okay. Tell you what, I'll spot you $20 of gas. You can pay me back whenever." The man looked at Danny with an expression of such profound gratitude and confusion that Danny felt uncomfortable, like he just offered someone drowning a life preserver and they didn't understand what it was for. "Why would you do that?" the man asked. "Because you need help, and it's just $20. But what nobody expected was Elvis started crying right there at the gas pump. Not subtle tears, full sobbing. The man put his hands over his face, his whole body shaking, and just broke down completely in the fluorescent glare of the Shell station at 3 a.m. Danny froze. This was way outside his job description, but leaving this person alone in this state seemed wrong. So Danny did what his mother had always taught him. He treated the crying stranger with basic human decency. "Hey, it's okay," Danny said, moving closer. "Whatever's going on, it's okay." "It's not okay," the man sobbed. "Nothing's okay. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I got in my car and I just drove because I couldn't stand being in that house one more second. And now I don't even know where I am or how to get back. And I can't remember the last time I did anything normal like pump my own gas." And the man's words tumbled out in a stream of consciousness rush that Danny struggled to follow. But the emotion was clear. This person was having a complete breakdown. "Okay, first things first," Danny said, using his calmest voice. "Let's get you somewhere safe. Can you walk?" The man nodded. "Come inside. I'll make you some coffee. You can sit down, catch your breath, and we'll figure out what to do next." Danny led the man into the gas station office. It was a small space. A desk, a coffee maker, a radio playing soft rock, textbooks spread across every surface. Danny cleared a chair, helped the man sit down, and poured coffee into a styrofoam cup. "Drink this. It'll help." The man took the coffee with shaking hands, took a sip, made a face. "It's terrible." "Yeah, gas station coffee usually is, but it's hot and it's caffeine, and right now, that's what matters." When the door opened, they saw... Danny finally got a good look at the man's face when he removed his sunglasses, and recognition hit like a freight train. "Holy shit," Danny breathed. "You're Elvis Presley." Elvis flinched like he'd been slapped. Please don't call anyone. Please don't take pictures. Please just..." "I'm not going to do any of that," Danny interrupted. Wow. Elvis Presley is in my gas station at 3 in the morning having a breakdown? That's not something they prepare you for in employee training. Despite everything, Elvis let out a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been another sob. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to see me like this. Like what? Human? Having a hard night? Dude, everyone has hard nights. Even, Danny gestured vaguely, even you, apparently. I shouldn't have driven, Elvis said quietly. I took too many pills. I wasn't thinking clearly. I just needed to get away from everything. Danny processed this. Elvis Presley, one of the most famous people on the planet, had driven while impaired to a random gas station and was now confessing to a 19-year-old stranger. This was surreal. Okay, Danny said. Here's what we're going to do. You're obviously not in any condition to drive. I'm going to call someone to come get you. Is there someone you trust? Someone who won't freak out or make this a big deal? Elvis thought about it. My friend Jerry Schilling. He'll come. He won't tell the press. Can you remember his phone number? Elvis rattled off a number. Danny dialed it on the station phone. A sleepy voice answered on the fourth ring. Jerry? Hey, you don't know me, but I have your friend here at the Shell station on Highway 51. He needs a ride home. There was a pause. Who is this? What friend? Danny looked at Elvis, who nodded permission. It's Elvis, and before you freak out, he's safe. He's not hurt, but he's not in any shape to drive. Now here's where the story gets interesting. Jerry Schilling arrived 23 minutes later, and his reaction surprised Danny. Jerry burst into the gas station looking panicked, but when he saw Elvis sitting in the office chair drinking terrible coffee, his expression shifted from panic to relief to something that looked like resignation. Man, you scared the hell out of everyone. You can't just disappear like that. I needed to get away, Elvis said quietly. I know, but Jerry noticed Danny for the first time. Who are you? Danny Mitchell. I work here. Found Elvis at the gas pump around 3. He was pretty out of it, so I brought him inside. Jerry's eyes narrowed. And you're not calling the papers? Not taking pictures? Why would I? Guy's having a hard night. That's nobody's business but his. Jerry stared at Danny like he was an alien species. Do you understand who this is? Do you know what a photo of Elvis Presley like this would be worth to the tabloids? Yeah, probably a lot. But I'm not interested in making money off someone else's suffering. That's not how my parents raised me. Something shifted in Jerry's expression. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you for just being decent. Anyone would have done the same. No, Jerry said firmly. They really wouldn't have. But everyone was about to learn the truth. Elvis wanted to stay and talk to Danny. I don't want to go back yet, Elvis said suddenly. Can I just sit here for a while? In this completely normal gas station with this completely normal person who doesn't want anything from me? Jerry looked uncertain. You need to get home. Get some sleep. We have a show tomorrow. Cancel it. What? Cancel the show. Cancel all of them. I can't keep doing this, Jerry. I can't keep pretending I'm okay when I'm not. Jerry glanced at Danny, clearly uncomfortable having this conversation in front of a stranger, but Elvis didn't seem to care anymore about who heard what. Elvis, Jerry said carefully, let's talk about this at home. No, because at home, everyone will tell me what I want to hear. That I'm fine, that I just need to rest, that everything will be better after the next show. But it won't be better. It's been getting worse for years, and everyone's been lying to me about it because they're all getting paid to lie. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time anyone in my life told me the truth? When was the last time someone treated me like a person instead of like Elvis Presley, the product? Danny cleared his throat. For what it's worth, I have no idea what it's like to be famous, but I do know what it's like to feel trapped. I work this job that I hate, studying for a future that might never happen, and some nights I want to just drive away and never come back. So maybe it's different scale, but the feeling might be similar. Elvis looked at Danny with sudden intensity. How do you deal with it? The feeling trapped thing. Honestly, I don't always deal with it well, but I try to remember that feeling trapped is often about perspective. Like right now, I feel trapped because I'm working night shift at a gas station instead of building bridges like I want to do someday. But the truth is, this job is temporary. It's just a step towards something else. It only feels like a prison if I forget that I chose to be here and I can choose to leave when I'm ready.
But what if you can't leave? Elvis asked. What if the thing trapping you is your own life, your own choices? What if you built the prison yourself and now you can't figure out how to escape? When security arrived, they found Danny didn't have a perfect answer, but he had an honest one. Then I guess you start small, Danny said. You can't tear down the whole prison at once, but maybe you can open one window, take one breath of fresh air, make one choice that's just for you, not for anyone else. And then tomorrow, you make another small choice. And eventually, maybe you realize the prison wasn't as solid as you thought. Elvis was quiet for a long time. Then, is that what tonight was? Me opening a window? Maybe. You drove away from wherever you were supposed to be. You ended up here. You asked for help. Those are all choices. They might not feel like much, but there's something. Jerry had been listening to this exchange with a mixture of fascination and discomfort. Danny, can I talk to you outside for a second? They stepped out of the office. Jerry spoke quietly, urgently. Look, I don't know what your situation is, but Elvis clearly connected with something you said, and I'm worried that if we take him home right now, he's going to spiral even worse. Would you, I know this is a huge ask, but would you be willing to keep talking to him? Just for a little while. I'll pay you for your time, obviously. I don't want your money, Danny said. But yeah, I'll talk to him. As long as you understand, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm 19 years old working at a gas station. I'm not a therapist. Right now, that's exactly what he needs. Someone who's not a therapist or a manager or an employee or a yes man. Just a regular person treating him like a regular person. They went back inside. Elvis was staring at Danny's open textbooks. What are you studying? Elvis asked. Engineering. Structural engineering specifically. I want to design bridges. That sounds amazing. Building things that last. Things that connect places. That's the idea. What about you? If you weren't Elvis Presley, what would you want to do? The question seemed to stun Elvis. I've never thought about it. I've been Elvis Presley since I was 19 years old. I don't remember wanting to be anything else. But before that, when you were a kid, what did you dream about? Elvis thought back. I liked comic books. I wanted to be like Superman, flying around, saving people, being strong enough to help everyone. He laughed bitterly. Turns out being strong enough to help everyone means you're never strong enough to help yourself. That's a pretty heavy realization for 3 a.m. at a gas station. Sorry, I'm not usually this honest. The pills make me say things I normally keep inside. Maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe keeping everything inside is part of what's making you feel trapped. Suddenly, the truth came out. Elvis told Danny something he'd never told anyone. I don't want to be Elvis Presley anymore, Elvis said quietly. I know that sounds insane. I know millions of people would kill to have my life, but I would give anything to just be Elvis Aaron Presley. To be nobody. To walk into a gas station and have the attendant not recognize me. To make mistakes without them ending up in newspapers. To have a bad night without it becoming everyone's crisis. But you can't unmake yourself famous, said Danny. So what's the alternative? I don't know. That's why I'm driving around at 3 a.m. high on pills I shouldn't be taking, because I don't know how to fix this.
I don't know how to be the person everyone needs me to be, while also being the person I actually am. And I'm so tired of pretending they're the same person." Danny sat down across from Elvis. "Can I tell you something that might sound harsh? Please, I'm desperate for someone to tell me the truth. I think maybe you're asking the wrong question. You're asking, how do I stop being Elvis Presley? But maybe the real question is, how do I be Elvis Aaron Presley while also being Elvis Presley? Like, they don't have to be mutually exclusive, but you have to give yourself permission to be both, to be famous and human, to be talented and flawed, to be the king of rock and roll who sometimes has breakdowns at gas stations." Elvis stared at Danny. "How old are you again?" 19. "And you figured this out at 19? I didn't figure anything out. I'm just saying what makes sense to me, which might be completely wrong for you, but you asked for truth, so that's mine. Stop trying to be only one thing. Let yourself be complicated." They talked for another hour, about pressure and expectations, about pills and coping mechanisms, about the difference between privacy and isolation, about small choices and big changes.
Finally, around 5 a.m., Elvis said, "I should go home." "You sure you're ready?" "No, but I think that's okay. I don't think I have to be ready. I just have to make the choice." Jerry drove Elvis back to Graceland in the Stutz Blackhawk. Danny followed in Jerry's car to bring him back to the gas station. On the drive, Jerry said, "I don't know what you said to him, but thank you. He hasn't been that honest about his struggles in years." "I didn't really say anything profound. I just listened." "That's more profound than you realize." When they got back to the gas station, Elvis got out of the car and approached Danny. "How much do I owe you for the gas?" Elvis asked. $20, like I said. Elvis pulled out a $100 bill that Jerry had given him. "Keep the change, and thank you for not calling the papers, for not treating me like Elvis Presley, for just being a person talking to another person. You don't have to pay me to be decent. I know, but let me do this anyway, please." Danny took the money. "Okay, but not as payment, as a thank you for an interesting night." Elvis smiled, the first genuine smile Danny had seen. "You're going to do great things, Danny Mitchell. You're going to build amazing bridges. And you're going to figure out how to be both versions of yourself. It won't be easy, but I think you can do it." They shook hands, and then Elvis got back in the car with Jerry and drove away, leaving Danny standing in the parking lot of a Shell station on Highway 51, holding a $100 bill and a story he'd never be able to prove happened. Now here's where everything gets complicated. Danny never told anyone about that night for 40 years. He didn't call newspapers, didn't tell friends, didn't even tell his family the full story. When Elvis died 9 months later, in August 1977, Danny mourned privately, wondering if that night at the gas station had made any difference at all, wondering if he should have done more, said something different, called for professional help instead of just talking. But he kept the $100 bill, never spent it, kept it in a frame above his desk as a reminder of the night Elvis Presley had a breakdown at his gas station, and they talked like two regular people trying to figure out life. Danny became an engineer, like he dreamed, designed bridges across 3 states, had a good career, a good life, but he always remembered that night. In 2016, Danny was giving a talk at a community college about pursuing your dreams despite obstacles. A student asked if he'd ever had a moment that changed his perspective on what was possible. And Danny, now 60 years old, told the story of the gas station, of Elvis, of that conversation at 3 a.m., of how sometimes the most important thing you can do for someone is just treat them like a human being instead of like what they represent. The story went viral. Some people believed it. Others called it fabricated.
But those who'd known Elvis, Jerry Schilling included, confirmed that Elvis had disappeared from Graceland on November 12, 1976, and had come back around 6 a.m., saying he'd had a breakthrough conversation with someone who'd helped him see things differently. Jerry went on record, "I never knew who that person was. Elvis wouldn't tell me. He just said, 'I met someone who treated me like a regular person, and it helped. Now I know it was Danny.'" The $100 bill Danny had capped was authenticated. Fingerprint analysis confirmed it had been handled by Elvis Presley. The gas station, long closed, had records showing someone had prepaid for gas that night without filling up, supporting Danny's story about spotting Elvis $20. But more importantly, Danny's story sparked a larger conversation about celebrity, mental health, and the importance of treating people as humans first, famous second. Danny Mitchell died in 2019 at age 63 from cancer. At his funeral, his daughter revealed that her father had used that $100 bill as a bookmark in his favorite book, a collection of essays about building bridges, both physical and metaphorical. "My dad believed that the most important bridges we build are between people," she said, "and the strongest bridges are built on treating each other with basic human dignity." That night with Elvis wasn't about saving a celebrity. It was about one person recognizing another person's pain and responding with kindness. That's the bridge my father built, and it lasted. Today, that $100 bill is in a museum dedicated to Elvis's life. Next to it is a plaque that reads, "On November 12, 1976, Elvis Presley drove to a gas station while impaired by prescription medications. He was lost, confused, and in crisis. A 19-year-old attendant named Danny Mitchell treated him with kindness instead of exploitation. They talked for 2 hours about feeling trapped, about making small choices, about being human. 9 months later, Elvis died. But that night, he found something he desperately needed. Someone who saw Elvis Aaron Presley instead of Elvis Presley the King. Sometimes the most important thing we can do is see each other, really see each other, as humans first, everything else second. This $100 bill represents that night, that conversation, that bridge between two people trying to figure out how to live in a complicated world. May we all be brave enough to build such bridges.